Listen well, my friends. Let me tell you about a woman called Zena who lived in our village. Beautiful Zena with her smooth skin and sweet smile that could melt stone. Everyone in the village loved her because she was so friendly, so kind, always greeting people with warmth like morning sun touching your face. But Zena had a secret problem. A problem that would eventually scatter her life completely, like broken clay pots that can never hold water again. She loved to borrow things, especially clothes. Other people's clothes always looked better to her than her own. The grass was always greener on the other side of her neighbor's fence. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, from the day Zena's trouble began.
Zena was married to a good man named Emeka. This man is nice. Emeka was a trader who sold goods in the big city markets, and he made enough money to take care of his wife properly. Zena had a nice house with zinc roof that didn't leak when rain fell. She had food on her table every single day. She had her own clothes hanging in her wardrobe. Enough clothes that some women in the village would kneel down and thank God for. But somehow, it was never enough for Zena. When she saw her neighbor wearing a beautiful dress, something would burn inside her chest like pepper touching open wound. Not just admiration, no. It was deeper than that, darker than that. It was a hunger that ate her from inside. A need, a desperate craving to have that dress on her own body, to feel what her neighbor was feeling, to receive the praise that her neighbor was receiving. She couldn't sleep at night thinking about other people's clothes. She would toss and turn on her mattress like fish on hot sand, thinking about that yellow dress Mama Ngozi wore to church or that blue wrapper Sister Desert tied last Sunday. It consumed her like fire eating dry grass.
It started innocently enough, the way most destruction starts. Small, harmless looking, like a tiny crack in the wall that you ignore until the whole house collapses. One day, Zena saw her neighbor Ada wearing a stunning blue dress with gold embroidery that caught sunlight and threw it back like diamonds. Ada was a tailor, you see, and she had sewn this dress herself for a special occasion, spending weeks choosing the fabric, measuring, cutting, stitching every thread with love and patience. The dress was magnificent. It moved like water when Ada walked, and everyone who saw it stopped to admire it, pointing and whispering praises. Zena couldn't take her eyes off it. That night, she couldn't sleep. Her eyes were open like torch in darkness, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that blue dress. All she could think about was how that dress looked, how it moved, how people praised it. The hunger inside her chest grew bigger and bigger until she felt like she would burst if she didn't wear that dress. The next morning, very early before cock could crow properly, Zena went to Ada's house with a sweet smile painted on her face, like a mask covering her true intentions. "Sister Ada," she said, her voice dripping with honey. "That dress you wore yesterday was so beautiful. I have a wedding to attend this weekend. It's my best friend from childhood who is getting married. We grew up together, shared everything together. Please, I beg you, can I borrow your dress? Just for one day. I promise you, I swear on my mother's grave, I will return it in perfect condition. I will guard it like my own life."
Ada hesitated because that dress was special to her. She had spent weeks making it, choosing the fabric carefully from 3 different markets, sewing every stitch with her own hands while her fingers ached and her eyes burned from the lamplight. But Zena was her neighbor, her friend. They shared compound walls. They fetched water from the same well. How could she refuse? What would people say if she refused to help her neighbor? "Okay, Sister Zena," Ada said finally, her voice uncertain, like someone walking on slippery ground. "But please, I beg you in the name of God, take care of it. This dress is very precious to me. It's not just cloth and thread. It represents my dreams, my skill, my future." Zena's face lit up like sunrise breaking through dark clouds. "Oh, thank you, thank you. May God bless you. I will guard it with my life. I will treat it better than my own children." Zena wore that dress to the wedding, and oh, how people praised her. "Zena, you look like a queen," they said. "Where did you get this beautiful dress? Who is your tailor? Even the governor's wife doesn't dress like this." Zena smiled and accepted all the compliments as if the dress was hers, as if she sewn it herself, as if she deserved the praise. She felt like the most important woman at that wedding, like a celebrity, like someone whose existence mattered. The praise filled something empty inside her, something she didn't even know was hollow until that moment. She danced and laughed and took photographs, and for those few hours, she felt complete. But that feeling was temporary, borrowed, just like the dress.
When Monday came and Ada came knocking on her door, asking for her dress back, Zena suddenly had excuses flowing from her mouth like river after rainfall. "Oh, Sister Ada, I'm so sorry, I had to travel suddenly to see my sick aunt in the village. She sent message that she was dying. I left the dress at my mother's house because I couldn't carry it on that rough journey. I will bring it next week, I promise you." Ada was disappointed, but she believed her because why would the neighbor lie? Why would the friend deceive? Next week came and passed like smoke in wind. No dress. Ada came again, this time with worry lines on her forehead. "Sister Zena, where is my dress? I have a customer who wants me to make something similar. I need to see the pattern again." Zena didn't even blink before lying again. "Sister Ada, please forgive me. My mother is still washing it. You know how careful we must be with delicate fabric. If we wash it wrongly, it will spoil. She's been very careful. I will bring it very soon, maybe end of this week."
Another week passed like water through fingers. Still no dress. Ada's patience was wearing thin like old cloth. When Ada finally insisted, standing at Zena's door and refusing to leave without her dress, Zena had no choice but to bring it out. But when Ada saw her precious dress, her heart broke into 1,000 pieces like glass falling on concrete. There was a large stain on the front that looked like palm oil or red stew, and one of the gold embroidery threads was torn, hanging sadly like broken promises. The hem was dirty with mud that had dried and cracked. "Sister Zena, what happened to my dress?" Ada asked, her voice shaking with pain and anger mixed together like bitter medicine. "This is not how I gave it to you. This is destruction. This is wickedness." Zena looked shocked, as if she had just noticed the damage herself, as if it was a surprise to her too. I don't know how that happened. Maybe it was during the wedding. You know how crowded these events can be? People pushing, people stepping on your dress. Someone must have spilled something on me. These things happen. I'm so sorry, sister. But don't worry, don't be sad. I will pay for it to be fixed. I promise. But Zena never paid for the repairs. Whenever Ada mentioned it, Zena would have a new excuse ready like ammunition in a gun. "Next week, sister, business is slow this week. My husband hasn't sold anything." Or, "My husband hasn't given me money yet. You know how men can be. They promise and forget." Eventually, Ada gave up asking because she realized that she was talking to a wall, wasting her breath. She learned an expensive lesson about lending her things to Zena, a lesson that cost her more than money. It cost her trust.
But Zena didn't stop. Oh no, my friends. That experience didn't teach her anything except that she could get away with it. That experience only made her bolder, hungrier, more desperate. She had tasted the sweetness of wearing something that wasn't hers and receiving praise for it. And she was addicted, like someone who drinks palm wine every morning until their liver cries for mercy. The praise fed something dark inside her, something that was never satisfied, always wanting more, always hungry. Next, she targeted Mama Ngozi, an older woman who lived 3 compounds away. a woman who had seen many rainy seasons and many dry seasons. Mama Ngozi had a beautiful wrapper made of expensive Ankara fabric that she bought from a trader who imported cloth from Ghana. The colors were so bright and beautiful that they made your eyes happy just by looking at them. It was the kind of wrapper that made people turn their heads when you walked past, that made small children point and say, "See fine clothes." Zena's eyes nearly popped out of her head when she saw it, almost falling from their sockets like ripe fruit from tree. "Mama Ngozi," Zena said sweetly, visiting the older woman one afternoon when the sun was high and hot. She brought kola nut and smiled until her cheeks hot. "I have been invited to a naming ceremony next Saturday. It's for a very important family in the next village, the chief's family. Everyone who is someone will be there. I want to look my best and represent our village well. I saw that beautiful wrapper you wore to church last Sunday. Mama, please, I beg you on my knees. Can I borrow it just for one day? You know I am like a daughter to you. I would never disrespect you." Mama Ngozi was a kind woman, too kind perhaps. Her heart was soft like well-cooked yam. She agreed, but with a warning that came from the wisdom of her years. "Zena, my child, this wrapper is very special to me. My late husband bought it for me on our 20th wedding anniversary before he died. It's the last gift he gave me before God took him home. Every time I wear it, I remember his smile, his voice, his love. Please, I beg you in the name of everything holy, take care of it. Handle it like it's made of glass, like it's made of your own heart." Zena nodded seriously, her face showing concern that wasn't real. "Mama, I will treat it like my own life. You don't need to worry. I will guard it better than I guard my own children. Trust me."
Zena wore the wrapper to the naming ceremony and received so many compliments that her chest swelled with pride like balloon filling with air. People gathered around her, touching the fabric, asking where she bought it, how much it cost. She felt important, valued, seen. But on the way home, disaster struck like lightning from clear sky. Dark clouds gathered suddenly and rain began falling heavily, pounding the earth like angry fists. Zena had to run through muddy paths because there was no shelter anywhere, no place to hide from the angry sky. Water fell on her like someone pouring from buckets. By the time she reached home, she looked like drowned rat pulled from well. The beautiful wrapper was covered in more than dirt, completely ruined, the bright colors now hidden under brown filth. She tried washing it herself in her bathroom, scrubbing it hard with her hands because she was too ashamed to take it to a professional cleaner who would ask questions. But the fabric was delicate, meant for gentle handling, meant for care and patience. Instead of taking it to someone who knew how to handle expensive cloth, Zena scrubbed it hard with harsh soap, the kind of soap used for washing cooking pots. The colors faded like hope dying. The fabric became rough like sandpaper, losing its softness. When she finally gathered courage to return it to Mama Ngozi 2 weeks later, walking slowly to her compound like someone going to their own funeral, the older woman's eyes filled with tears that ran down her wrinkled cheeks like rain on glass. "Zena, what have you done?" Mama Ngozi's voice was filled with pain that went beyond cloth, beyond fabric. "This wrapper, it's ruined, completely destroyed. This was my most precious memory of my husband, the last thing he gave me before he died. How could you treat it like common rag?" Mama Ngozi held the wrapper in shaking hands, seeing how the beautiful colors had faded, how the soft fabric had become hard and rough. Zena's face showed no real remorse, no genuine sadness, only annoyance at being caught, only irritation that someone was making her feel bad. Mama, it's just fabric, it's just cloth. These things happen in life. You should have told me it was so delicate. How was I supposed to know? Why didn't you warn me properly? If you had explained better, maybe I would have been more careful.
Word began to spread through the village like fire through dry grass. The women would gather at the market, sitting under the big mango tree where they sold their vegetables, and they would whisper among themselves. "Be careful of Zena," they said, passing the message from mouth to mouth like secret message in wartime. "She borrows things and returns them damaged, if she returns them at all. Don't let her sweet mouth deceive you. Her tongue is covered in honey, but her heart is filled with thorns." Now, some women who had these warnings decided to protect themselves and their belongings. When Zena came knocking at their doors with her sweet smile and her sad stories, they would politely refuse. "Sister Zena, I'm sorry, but I need that dress myself. I have somewhere to go." Or, "Sister Zena, that wrapper is too delicate. I can't lend it out." Simple, respectful refusals. But Zena could not accept rejection like a normal person. Her face would change immediately, like weather changing from sunshine to storm. When Sister Blessing refused to lend her a pair of shoes, Zena stood at her doorstep and began to shout loud enough for the whole compound to hear. "So this is how you treat your neighbor? After all the times I greeted you, after all the times I was friendly to you, now you have something nice and you cannot share? You are a wicked, selfish woman. May God judge you." Sister Blessing was so shocked she could only stand there with her mouth open like fish out of water. Another time, when Mama Chidima politely declined to lend her a handbag, Zena began spreading rumors about her. She told people that Mama Chidima was proud and stingy, that her husband was having affairs, that her children were disrespectful. None of it was true, but Zena's tongue moved like serpent, poisoning people's minds. "You see that woman?" Zena would tell anyone who would listen. "She thinks she's better than everyone else. She has things, but she hoards them like a witch hoards curses. God will punish her pride." When young Obiageli refused to lend her a necklace, saying it was a gift from her late grandmother, Zena became even more vicious. She went to Obiageli's compound when the girl was not home and told her mother that Obiageli had been seen with a married man in the market. The poor girl nearly got beaten by her own parents before the truth came out. But Zena showed no remorse. "If she had just lent me the necklace, I wouldn't have been angry," she said, as if her wickedness was justified by rejection. The village women soon realized that refusing Zena was almost as dangerous as lending to her. If you lent her something, she would destroy it. If you refused, she would destroy your reputation. It was like being trapped between fire and deep water. But Zena didn't care about the whispers, about the warnings, about the damaged relationships. The whispers bounced off her like water on oiled skin. She had a new target in mind, always hunting, always searching for the next beautiful thing to borrow. Sister Adaeze, a young woman who worked as a teacher in the village school, teaching small children their ABC and 1, 2, 3. Adaeze had just bought a brand new dress from the city, a modern style with fitted waist and flowing skirt that moved like water in the wind. It was the kind of dress that made every woman jealous, the kind that made people take a second look. Zena saw it, and immediately that familiar hunger returned, scratching at her insides like rat in the ceiling, demanding to be fed. She went to Adaeze's house with her usual sweet smile and sob story, armed with lies like soldier with bullets. "Sister Adaeze, I have an interview for a job in the city next week. A big company, international company, the kind where they pay salary in dollars. This could change my life forever. This could lift my family out of poverty. But I don't have anything professional to wear. Nothing that looks serious and respectable. All my clothes are village clothes. Nothing suitable for city people. Please, I beg you with everything in me. Can I borrow your new dress? I promise I will be extra careful with it. I will treat it like presidential property. I will guard it like it contains my own destiny." Adaeze had heard the rumors about Zena, whispers following her like shadow follows body. But she felt sorry for her because an interview was important after all. Maybe Zena had learnt her lesson from the previous disasters. Maybe she would be more careful this time. Maybe people were being too harsh on her. Maybe she deserved another chance. So Adaeze agreed, but with strict conditions that she stated clearly. Zena, you must return it immediately after the interview, the very same day. Don't keep it for 1 extra hour. And please, I'm begging you on my knees, be careful with it. I spent almost 2 months of my teaching salary on this dress. I saved and saved, eating only gari and groundnut for lunch, walking to school instead of taking Okada just to buy this dress.
The interview day came and went like smoke in the wind. Then 1 week passed slowly. 2 weeks dragged by. 3 weeks crawled past like injured snail. When Adaeze finally gathered courage and went to Zena's house to demand her dress back, her heart pounding with worry and anger, what she found there made her blood boil like water on fire, made her see red like bull seeing red cloth. Zena was wearing the dress, not for an interview that had supposedly happened weeks ago, but just casually, sitting in her compound like queen on throne, chatting with visitors and laughing, wearing another woman's expensive dress like it was her own property. And the dress, it had grease stains on it like someone had used it to cook soup and fry akara. The hem was torn and dirty, dragging on the ground like discarded rag. There was even a burn mark from iron on the sleeve, a triangular brown mark that screamed of carelessness and disrespect. Zena, what are you doing wearing my dress like it belongs to you? And look at what you've done to it. It's completely ruined, destroyed. Adaeze screamed, no longer able to control her anger that had been building for weeks like pressure in a pot. Her voice was so loud that neighbors came out from their houses to see what the commotion was about. Zena looked at her calmly, as if Adaeze was overreacting about nothing, as if she was the one being unreasonable. Oh, Sister Adaeze, calm down now. Why are you shouting like someone whose house is on fire? I was just about to bring it back to you today. I was literally preparing to wash it and return it. And these small damages you're talking about, they happened accidentally. Life happens. Things happen. Why are you making such a big noise about it? It's just a dress, just cloth and thread. Why are you behaving like I killed your mother?
Adaeze was so frustrated. But what could she do? She took her ruined dress and left, crying all the way home. The pattern continued, and more women fell victim to Zena's borrowing habits. But everything changed the day Zena targeted little Ngozi, a young girl of only 15 years old who lived at the edge of the village with her widowed mother. Little Ngozi had just one good dress, a beautiful red dress that her late father had bought for her before he died. It was the last gift from him, and she treasured it more than anything in the world. She would only wear it to church on Sundays and special occasions, carefully washing it by hand and hanging it in the sun to dry, then folding it with such care as if it was made of butterfly wings. The dress represented her father's love, his memory, his presence in her life even though he was gone. One Saturday afternoon, Zena saw little Ngozi wearing the red dress to a village gathering, and that familiar hunger seized her heart like demon taking possession. She couldn't stop staring at it. That night, she couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, thinking about that red dress. The next morning, she went to Ngozi's compound with her sweetest smile. "My dear Ngozi," Zena said, her voice dripping with false affection. "That red dress you wore yesterday was so beautiful. I have a very important ceremony to attend tomorrow. The commissioner's wife will be there, important people from the city. If I look good, I might get a contract that will change my life forever. Please, my dear child, can I borrow your dress? Just for one day. I will return it the very next day, I promise you." Little Ngozi's face showed fear immediately. She had heard the stories about Zena. Everyone in the village had. "Auntie Zena,
I'm sorry, but I cannot lend you my dress. It was my last gift from my late father. It's very precious to me. It's the only good dress I have. Zena's face changed like clouds covering the sun. You are refusing me? You, a small girl, are refusing me, a grown woman. Where is your respect? Where are your manners? She raised her voice loud enough for neighbors to hear. Your father did not train you well before he died. You are a selfish, wicked child.
Little Ngozi began to cry, but she stood firm. Auntie, please don't be angry. I just cannot lend this dress. Please understand. But Zena would not leave. She went to Ngozi's mother and began to pressure her. Mama Ngozi, your daughter is very disrespectful. She has something nice and she cannot share with her elders. Is this how you raised her? What will people say about your family? The poor widow, tired and worn down by life struggles, felt pressured by Zena's loud accusations. She didn't want trouble. She didn't want the village to think her daughter was disrespectful. Ngozi, her mother said weakly, just lend her the dress. It's only for one day. Auntie Zena has always been good to us. Little Ngozi looked at her mother with tears streaming down her face like rain. Mama, please, this is Papa's dress, the last thing from Papa. But her mother, exhausted and wanting peace, insisted. Give her the dress. Don't make me look like I raised a stubborn child. With shaking hands and a breaking heart, little Ngozi went inside and brought out her precious red dress, folded carefully and smelling of the special soap she used only for it. As she handed it to Zena, tears fell from her eyes like broken pearls. Please, Auntie Zena, please take care of it. It's my father's last gift. It's all I have left of him. Zena snatched the dress without even looking at the crying child. Don't worry, I will return it tomorrow. And she left, practically running with excitement. The next day came. No Zena, no dress. 2 days passed. 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. Little Ngozi cried every single day, her heart breaking piece by piece. Her mother went to Zena's house to ask for the dress, but Zena had excuses. Oh, I had to travel suddenly. The dress is at my sister's house in the next village. I will bring it next week. But next week came and went like smoke. When Mama Ngozi went again, insisting this time, Zena became angry and insulting. Why are you people disturbing me about one dress? Am I not returning it? Is your daughter the only person in this village with a dress? You people should leave me alone. The poor widow left crying, unable to stand up to Zena's aggression.
Then 1 month later, little Ngozi saw something that made her blood freeze in her veins. She was at the market buying vegetables for her mother when she saw Zena across the road. And Zena was wearing her red dress. But the dress was no longer beautiful. It had stains everywhere. The hem was torn and dragging in the mud, and there was a large hole near the shoulder. Zena was wearing her father's precious dress like it was a common rag. Little Ngozi screamed and ran towards Zena. Auntie Zena, my dress! What have you done to my father's dress? But something strange happened at that exact moment. When Zena turned to look at little Ngozi, when their eyes met, Zena's face suddenly twisted into something that didn't look human. Her eyes became wide and wild, like an animal caught in a trap. She opened her mouth, and instead of words, a strange sound came out. Something between a laugh and a scream that made everyone in the market stop and stare. Then Zena began to behave strangely, right there in the market. She started spinning in circles, faster and faster, the red dress flying around her like blood in water. She laughed hysterically, a laughter that had no joy in it, only madness. Red dress, father's dress, dancing in father's dress, she shouted repeatedly, her voice not sounding like her own voice anymore. People gathered around, shocked and afraid. What is happening to Zena? They whispered. She began tearing at the dress, ripping it further, pulling at the fabric like she was trying to remove her own skin. It won't come off! It won't come off! She screamed. It's burning me! The dress is burning me! But when people looked, there was no fire, no smoke, nothing. Just Zena acting like someone whose mind had left her body.
From that day forward, Zena was never the same again.
Something broke inside her mind that could never be fixed. Every day, she would wake up and put on whatever tattered clothes she could find, and she would wander through the village talking to herself. Must borrow the dress, must have the dress. Everyone's dress looks better than mine. Must borrow, must borrow. Over and over like a broken record, playing the same line. She would go to people's houses at strange hours, sometimes at midnight, knocking on doors and asking to borrow clothes. When they refused or ignored her, she would sit outside their compounds and cry like a child, wailing about dresses and wrappers and shoes. Sometimes she would be found trying on clothes on people's washing lines, dancing in borrowed things that weren't hers to wear. Her husband, Emeka, was horrified and heartbroken. He tried everything to help her. He took her to the hospital in the city, but the doctor said there was nothing physically wrong with her. He took her to different churches and pastors prayed over her, but the madness remained. He took her to traditional healers who burnt incense and made sacrifices, but nothing changed. Zena was trapped inside her own mind, locked in an endless loop of wanting to borrow what wasn't hers. The village women who had been victims of her borrowing habit watched with mixed feelings. Some felt satisfaction, feeling that justice had finally been served. You see, they would whisper, "This is what happens when you covet what doesn't belong to you. This is what happens when you disrespect other people's property and destroy their precious things." Others felt pity, despite everything Zena had done to them. "She has suffered enough," Mama Ngozi would say, though her own heart still ached for her destroyed wrapper. No one deserves to lose their mind like this.
But little Ngozi and her mother felt the deepest pain of all. The poor girl blamed herself every single day. "Mama, if I had not lent her the dress, would Auntie Zena still be okay?" she would ask, crying into her mother's arms. Her mother would hold her tight and say, "No, my child, this is not your fault. Zena's greed and wickedness brought this upon herself. You cannot blame yourself for her downfall." But guilt still haunted the young girl, knowing that her father's red dress was somehow connected to Zena's madness. Emeka eventually had enough. One morning, when roosters were just beginning to crow, he packed his things quietly into 2 bags. His heart was heavy like stone, but he could not continue living like this. He told Zena's family, "I have tried everything. I have spent all my money on hospitals and healers. I have prayed until my knees are bruised, but she is not getting better. I cannot live like this anymore. I am going to the city to work and start a new life. Please take care of her." And just like that, he walked away from the wife he had once loved, the woman who had destroyed herself with her own greed. Zena's relatives took her back to her mother's village, where she lived out her days in a small hut, still talking to herself about borrowed dresses, still wandering around trying to take clothes from washing lines, still trapped in the prison of her own making. The vibrant, beautiful woman who once smiled sweetly and walked confidently through the village was gone forever, replaced by a shadow of a person whose mind had been scattered by her own wickedness and insatiable desire for what belonged to others. Now, my friends, news of what happened to Zena spread beyond the village, traveling from mouth to mouth like wildfire through dry season grass. People from neighboring villages would come just to see the woman who went mad from borrowing a young girl's dress. They would stand at a distance, pointing and whispering, watching Zena wander around in her confused state, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, always talking about dresses and clothes that she needed to borrow.
So, remember this story well, my friends. Remember Zena, who loved her neighbor's dress more than her own integrity. who valued temporary praise over lasting relationships. Remember that when you borrow something from someone, you are not just borrowing an object, you're borrowing their trust, their confidence, their good faith in humanity.
Thank you for listening to the end. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe and be a part of this community.